Welcome to Research Realized, a podcast exploring research at Lehigh University and understanding what it means for people and their communities. We are joined by Dr. Shalinee Kishore, the Iacocca Chair and Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Lehigh University. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This episode is episode 2, From Labs to Local Lives. We are shifting our focus from the problem to solutions being discussed at Lehigh Center for Advancing Community Electrification Solutions. Shalinee, thank you so much for offering your expertise on this subject. We've talked about ACES in our previous podcast, but what's the core mission here? Why is it so important to have this center set up, especially in this age of AI data centers and electrification?
Absolutely. I think one of the major challenges from society's perspective around energy is energy reliability, affordability, and really, at the end of the day, sustainable solutions, right? So that's what we've decided to work on, and the vehicle for doing this is electrification, which is to use the electricity grid as much as possible to solve our energy needs. Now, the way we do this at ACES is we have research thrusts, right? This is a little bit in the weeds, but the research thrusts are looking at 3 different major components of solving the problem. One is the hardware. What is the actual equipment that we need for electrification? So it could be new generation sources, it could be energy storage solution, new loads that can actually use electricity to meet the energy needs. Also, devices that interface with the power grid. So that's the physical assets. And then we have software solutions. So these are data-driven, learning-based optimization and control approaches that help efficient electrification across different sectors in a community. We talked about how ACES looks at electrification for a range of communities, and what's common in all communities is the need for buildings, water, and transportation. So how do we electrify these sectors and make sure that through our algorithms and through our physical assets that we deploy, we get the efficiencies that we want?
And Shalinee, you have mentioned in the past that in the next couple of decades, the electrification is going to go from about 20% to, was it 50%? Mm-hmm. In just a matter of a few years. I just thought that really stuck out to me, that point, if you could make that again.
Absolutely. So right now, our energy use, we use it in a vast range of different ways, but only 20% is from the power grid, right? From the outlets that we plug in devices to. Looking ahead, by 2050, it'll be 50%. And part of this is the new kinds of loads we're bringing on, right? We're bringing in electric vehicles, electric heat pumps in homes and buildings, data centers, manufacturing facilities that are going to be developed in the next few years. All of this is going to demand electricity at higher rates than we have seen for a long, long time. And so the grid has to learn to adapt to these new use cases as well. And that's another focus for our center, is to understand grid impact.
So the electrification is not going anywhere anytime soon. No. We are using it more and more each day. So in simple terms, what is the single biggest hurdle standing in the way of widespread equitable electrification today? And how does ACES focus on community-led solutions that overcome that hurdle?
Absolutely. I think one of the major hurdles that needs to be solved is around reliable, affordable energy, right, for communities. And the approach that ACES is taking here is to try to achieve this through something we called electricity sheds. Okay, the concept is like that of a watershed, right? What we want from an electricity shed is to support as much of the electrification need across buildings, transportation, water, whatever have you, in a community through locally generated electricity, right? So these electricity sheds will therefore be self-sufficient entities, right? They'll give you energy independence to communities, and because the generation is local and the use is local, the costs are lower, right? So that's our focus, and we hope that electricity sheds will be the way to move forward.
And ACES stands out by focusing on interdependencies on electrification. So specifically across buildings, water, and transportation systems, as you mentioned. Can you give us an example of something that you're working on right now so we can kind of understand the work that ACES is doing?
Absolutely. So one of the areas that I'll talk about a little different than data centers is our work in coastal and island communities. So we're looking here at something called energy water microgrids to help these communities deal with two major challenges: cost of energy and cost of potable water. Before I get into that, a microgrid, I use the term, I just want to explain what that is. It's just a smaller power grid, right? It's a smaller power grid that has its own local generation, possibly energy storage, and it tries to meet the local demand. So you could have a microgrid for a campus like Lehigh. You could have one for a community, a neighborhood. And in this case, we're looking at coastal or island communities that can have a microgrid like this, and it allows you to operate independently and also to connect to the grid if you need to, right? So it has both the benefits.
So these operate separate from the continental U.S.
It could,
power grid. That's much bigger than these smaller microgrids.
Exactly right. And so the way we're dealing with these microgrids for these communities is to think about their water needs and their energy needs. Now, because they're located offshore many times, getting electricity to them from the main grid can be expensive, right? The infrastructure to lay it all out and connect those to the main grid can be expensive. So electricity costs are pretty high in coastal and island communities for this region. Their rates are higher than those of us who live in the middle of the country, for example. Another cost that's very high for them is the cost of making water usable for households and drinking water, right? And that's because they need to often rely on desalination. That's a very energy-intensive process, which needs a lot of electricity. So you can see how the challenges that they have in affordable water and affordable energy, electricity, is very interdependent, right? And so this is the kind of stuff that we're looking at, these interdependencies, trying to understand how do you design a microgrid that can be more affordable for these communities. And one of the technologies I just want to briefly mention that we're looking at is actually a pretty novel, it's novel in terms of the broader community, but it's been around for a long time, and we're hoping it'll become more common in the future. It's relying on a resource that's very abundant in these communities, which is marine power. So marine power is electricity that's derived from the natural motion of water. For example, by deploying these special buoys in the ocean that convert the heaving motion of waves into electricity.
Wow.
And so we're looking at that as a part of a solution for these microgrids for these communities, and really understanding what are the economic, environmental, and health outcomes that we can deliver there.
Pretty neat, pretty neat. In addition to a project like that, as you mentioned, AI data centers.
That's right.
Let's talk a little bit more about them. We started talking about them in our first episode of this podcast, but we kind of talked about some of the issues that folks are dealing with when it comes to these AI data centers, like the excessive amount of heat that they produce and energy that they use. And I wanted to get into how does this impact the local community, specifically, household to household. If I'm a homeowner and I have an AI data center that opened up down the street, how does that impact my utility bill?
Absolutely. I think this question is at the forefront of conversations about data centers right now. A lot of us have seen electricity bills go up in the last few years. I live in New Jersey. That's a very hot button topic there, and I know it's here as well in the Lehigh Valley. And it seems that perhaps data centers are to blame, right? They're in the news. There's all this attention on them. It seems like they're, developers and operators of data centers are getting incentives and regulatory support to set up shop. But the answer to this question about what the impact they're having on the utility bill is complex, right? It's not straightforward. Yes, the integration of large numbers of data centers will be a part of our increasing electricity bills, at least in the short term. And even if the data centers were not to appear, our bills were still going to be going up and have gone up, right? And that's for a variety of reasons, including inflation, upgrading grid infrastructure to accommodate aging assets or digitization, adding more distributed generation, making the grid more resilient to outages, to natural weather events, or to cybersecurity events, things like that. So this is all work that's being done, that's upgrading the infrastructure, and we all pay for that. So when a large load like a data center comes onto the grid, it's also going to require more generation, more transmission lines, more distribution lines, and that's infrastructure that we all end up also paying for. So the bills will go up, but it's not just the data centers that are to blame, I would say.
Sure. So this is just one of the issues that folks are bringing up when it comes to data centers. One policy expert from your group framed it as what some of the challenges that it's grandma competing against Google here. You know, there's kind of apples and oranges when it comes to the same electricity issues. And so how is ACES confronting the dual challenge of energy for AI while simultaneously protecting the stability of the grid, energy security, and affordability for everyday Pennsylvania ratepayers?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say that we have a number of things that we're doing, and one of the most recent things that we had done was hold a symposium at the university back in October, where we convened stakeholders in Pennsylvania to talk about this topic. So industry folks from local, state governments came, and the discussion helped us understand what the needs were and really think about ACES as a vehicle for those solutions. So based on those conversations and based on our expertise, we're now looking at cooling solutions as one of the solutions. As we mentioned in the previous podcast, that the amount of computation that servers do in data centers generates a lot of heat and requires a lot of cooling. So we're looking at approaches known as immersion cooling or direct-to-chip cooling or heat exchange solutions to deal with the heat that's present in data centers. We're also looking at energy-efficient direct current microgrids for data centers. So direct current is different than the power that comes out of our outlet. Our outlets have AC power, which is alternating current. Data centers in the near future will be using DC power more and more because it's energy efficient solution. So we're working on how you design those DC power systems within data centers, and wherever possible, try to have some local generation, local storage, and try not to stress the grid as much. I would also mention we're looking at how data centers could be more flexible in their demand rather than just use what they need when they need it. Can they be a little bit more adaptive during, let's say, a hot summer day when they might, reduce their consumption, and how they might do that, and how could the rest of the grid incorporate all of that? And finally, we're very interested in the economic implications of all of this for customers, particularly, understanding how that flexibility might help us as customers.
This is an issue that is nationwide and really worldwide. People are looking at this across the globe. I think it's so neat that we are doing the research right here. We have this research right in front of us here in the Lehigh Valley. And you emphasized local, and the full name emphasizes community electrification solution. So why is it so important to look at this on a local or community level and making sure that we are addressing the local community needs like here in the Lehigh Valley?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we can say here is whether it's data centers or, a manufacturing facility coming in, or if you're looking at coastal island communities, these are all different folks, right? Different people that have a different history, that have different constraints, that have a different vision of what their future should look like. We can't come up with one set of solutions that works for everybody, that's scalable across all kinds of communities, right? So if you think about a data center coming in a historically energy community that has seen a downturn. So, for example, a coal facility, that was shut down years ago. If that can be converted into a data center, and the community can generate, tax revenues from it, which can go to municipal governments, which can go to local school districts, that's an opportunity for them, right? Whereas in other regions, bringing in a data center where there's a lot of folks, let's say, who've bought new homes and, decided this was a bucolic setting for their families to grow up in, and now a data center opens up right in their backyard and is loud and is not bucolic, right? That could be a different set of concerns and issues for them, right? So we have to think about each community in its isolation. And one of the things we're hoping to do is, if we do enough of this across enough different types of communities, we can identify themes. We can identify things that are actually scalable and things that need to be more tailored.
It feels great to know that somebody is keeping an eye on this and researching this as we hear more about AI in the headlines and in our everyday usage. So, Dr. Shalinee Kishore, the Iacocca Chair and Professor of Electrical and Computer Engineering at Lehigh University, thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us for Research Realized, a podcast exploring research at Lehigh University and understanding what it means for people and their communities. To our listeners, we hope you subscribe and stream the additional episodes on this topic. We hope you have a great day.